Good evening, everyone. It's the annual Necromaniacs Halloween hoedown with all three of us on the line together. So how's it going, fellas?
Going good. Yes, it's the Halloween special, as they say on South Park. It's going great. Looking forward to this. Always good to get the whole gang together.
Yep.
I like to refer to it as the Halloween hoedown.
Hoedown. Hoedown is good too.
Yeah, it
It
fits.
it brings to mind the Old West and hoes, so it's good.
Ah,
So before we really get rolling, let's shout everyone out. Of course,
Mhm.
this crew is part of a larger crew, a larger gang of podcasting elitists, the podcasting Illuminati, if you will. And of course, I'm referring to the horsemen of the podcasting apocalypse. So how
Right.
do we kick the week off, fellas?
Well, on Monday, let's see. I'm going to stump Jeff. Jeff, who do we have on Monday?
we have Horror Wolf 666 from
That's
Brandon
right.
Inman.
And on Tuesday, we have the mighty Into the Necrosphere with Jackie Smith giving you all of your metal needs. On Wednesday, Mike Hill, who do we have?
We have Everything Went Black, and got some really cool guests coming up. The Adams family are returning because they have a new movie coming out, so they're going to be
Nice.
on the show again, and it's always a pleasure talking to them. So that's an upcoming episode, and yeah, just continuing, the mayhem.
Yeah. That was a great episode with Ed McNamara, who wrote the Brooklyn Hardcore book. Everybody, check out that book if you have not. On Thursday, while you're listening to it right now, it is the Necromaniacs podcast, the greatest horror podcast in this world and Earth 2 as well. Who do we have on Friday, Mr. Hill?
On Friday, we have Spitball Media. See, I got it right
Mhm.
this time, and then of course, it's brought to you by your brother John Draper.
That's right. Spitting the balls of media. Saturday, take the day off. But on Sunday, we have Carl Hikara's incredible Soul Knox podcast. But wait, there's more. Mr. Hill, tell him who else we got.
Lurking in the shadows, Iblis manifestations coming at you pretty much whenever Cheyenne decides that it's time to deploy a new episode on you. And he just emerges from the shadows and says, "Behold, a new episode of Iblis manifestations."
That's right. He's my new Facebook friend. So shout out to Cheyenne. All right.
Cheyenne's going to be returning to Everything Went Black next month. I had him on earlier, like maybe a year and a half ago, and he's
Mhm.
coming back next month to talk. So I'm looking forward to that.
Excellent. Uh, Wanted to ask you guys, have you checked out Fall of the House of Usher on Netflix?
Watching it right now.
Yeah, I
Well,
have as
not
well.
right this second, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
uh, yeah, we just started it a couple days ago, and we only have two episodes left. Have you guys
Cool.
finished it?
I have. I have finished it in record time. Usually I take these things a little slower, but I was so into it. I was just like, staying up late on weeknights when I had work in the morning because I wanted to devour it. But yeah, I won't say too much more, but I really love it, and I'm kind of placing it literally like right under midnight mass for me of all the Flanagan stuff. So yeah, love it.
I
It's so
started
far
it.
my favorite thing he's done.
Mm.
I started it, and I think it's really awesome. And definitely not a straight up adaptation of Fall of the House of Usher, but it's sort of like an aggregate of a bunch of Poe's stuff kind of thrown in there. And
Yes.
in a weird way, I'm getting Secession vibes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a horror succession in some and definitely in some ways.
Yeah.
It's funny you say that, Mike, because my former stepdaughter texted me to tell me she was watching it, and she said it's like Secession meets Final Destination.
Yes. Wow, that's good.
uh, yeah, the way I'm understanding it is not a direct adaptation of Fall of the House of Usher, but using that as more of a kind of a wraparound
Yeah.
to tell other sort of adaptations of Poe tales. Like I didn't catch on right away, but I remember in like episode two or three, I'm like, oh, this is the Black Cat. This is the Murder in the Rue Morgue, and I'm like, I've
Yeah.
got the episode titles. Oh, right, exactly.
Kind of
It's
clever, I
exactly
think.
those things.
Yeah, definitely a clever way of doing it. And I can't take credit for the Succession, vibes because my girlfriend actually, she was a big Succession fan, and we were watching it together, and she's like, "This is like a gothic version of Succession." And I was like, you know
Hmm.
what? I think you're right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a good call. But I think we're all Poe fans here, so
Mhm.
this is one of the better adaptations of his work. I mean, not a direct adaptation, but it has that Poe feel to it, that just gothic dread.
Mm.
Really enjoying it. I'm not a big Mike Flanagan fan, as you guys know. I didn't care for Midnight Mass. So I went in a little bit skeptical to this, but man, we're finishing it tonight when I get home from work, and I'm very, very excited.
Cool, cool. Yeah, Carl Cugino is fucking incredible, and Bruce Greenwood is incredible. So,
Yeah, yeah.
listeners, check it out if you have not. So, yeah.
Um, yeah, one thing I wanted to, he replaced Frank Langella, that actor you just mentioned,
Yes.
and I'm having a really hard time picturing Frank Langella in that role.
Yeah. Uh, he's like 15 years older than Bruce Greenwood, actually. It would have been really interesting to see that. Langella's an old guy. So,
He's
yeah.
85.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and he had some kind of weird Me Too-ish moment. That's why he got kicked off the show. I don't know. He said or did something that I don't even really know what he did, but nevertheless, he was removed from the show.
Right.
But yeah, would have been a different show entirely with him, in my opinion. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And it wouldn't have made a lot of sense. I'm assuming the Roderick Usher has got to be somewhere in his late 60s, early 70s. I
Right.
was like, oh, so Frank Langella would be playing younger. And I think they're twins, the brother and sister, right?
If they're not twins, they're like a year apart or something like very close.
Okay.
Very close to that. Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it was maybe a blessing in disguise
Hmm.
for him getting the axe because that act, what's his name? Bruce, what?
Bruce Greenwood.
Yeah, he's great.
He
He's
is.
really good.
Yeah. All right. All right.
Anything else you guys have been checking out? It's the Halloween season, so there's a tons of. I'm sure you guys are all watching good movies recently.
Yes,
Yeah, some good.
I watched the Frankenstein meets the werewolf, the Universal film, which I'd actually never seen that one before. And it's interesting because you have Lon Chaney as the Wolfman, but you don't have Karloff as Frankenstein. You have this other dude who is really kind of short and has a very odd face. So it's a weird thing, but the movie itself is still really good and has like this kind of downer ending. But yeah, that's what we watched the other night.
Nice. I watched The Boogeyman from this year last night.
Hmm.
Did you guys see that?
Not yet. I want
I
to.
did. I saw it in the theater.
Oh, that's right. Did you like it?
Um, like it. I mean, let's put it this way: I didn't dislike it. You know what I mean? So, but it was like there are things about it I thought were pretty cool. Some of it, was it? It's hard to say if I enjoyed it or not. You know what I mean? It's one of those movies.
Yeah, I didn't care for it. It's a big step up. The director who just did Dash Cam, so it's definitely better than that. But I did not enjoy it. It was better than I was expecting, but it sort of turned. It was very just routine PG-13 horror movie that you would expect to come out the first week of January. You
Hmm.
know, like 10 years ago. It was a little bit better than that, but it had too much of that, like been there, done that feel to it. I think it made a bunch of money, so we'll probably get a sequel. But you know, I don't know.
What
This year
service
has
is it
been a little
on?
dismal.
What service is it on?
Uh, I don't remember. I
I'll find
don't
it.
remember where I watched it.
I do want to
Yeah,
see it. I like the trailer. That's what got me excited about it months back. But yeah, I want to see that, and I want to see Talk to Me. There's a couple of the new ones that I want to see that I've heard are just okay, which seems to be theme this year for movies being okay. It's okay. It's pretty good.
yeah. Talk to Me. There's a lot of hype about that. I saw it in the theater, and I swear to God, I'm not a contrarian. I did not like it. Hey, I wanted to. I mean, people are raving about it. You have Joe Rogan tweeting about it or something, saying this is the
What,
scariest movie he's seen forever.
what does that guy know about anything, man?
Yeah.
He just knows how to he knows like how to leg lock people, and that's about it, really.
he,
Throw
he,
spinning
he
back
knows
kicks.
about being successful. There's
That's
that.
true. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you know
Other
what I'm
than
looking
that,
forward to is there's a film called Where Evil Lurks, which is about to drop any minute now, and it's from the
Mhm.
same guy who did Terrified from a few years ago. So that one looks really promising to me.
Yeah, I want to see that too.
Yeah. What were you going to say, Jeff? You were going to add something else before I cut you off.
I don't remember.
Before I
It's
rudely
okay.
cut you off.
No, it was all right. I was probably going to talk more shit about Talk to Me. We should cover that before the end of the year because I'd be really curious to what either you guys think of that. Did not like it. This year has just been, it just hasn't been good for horror, man. Like I usually by this point, I'm editing down to like 5 or 6 movies,
All
and
right.
I'm struggling to find 5 that really blew me away.
Hmm. Yeah, that definitely seems to be it. But on the more mainstream side, there's quite a few things I want to see. I want to see Killers of the Flower Moon that came
Yeah.
out yesterday or Friday. I want to see Ferrari.
Hmm.
I want to see Napoleon. Is so that's kind of cool. I mean, it seems like some real movies are making a comeback in a way.
Very true. And you have a new David Fincher flick, The Killer.
Killer, yeah, that's another one I want to see. So yeah, I mean, sometimes when one genre is up, another is down, and it is what it is, as they say.
It happens. It happens.
I recently watched The House by the Cemetery, which is on Shutter right now, the Fulci film. It's a good
Nice.
one.
So
Yeah.
good.
And I have first time ever tapped out on American Horror Story. I just cannot bring myself to watch another episode of it, man.
Whoa.
Really?
Yeah, and I'm like an apologist for that show. You know what I mean? But I
Mm.
just can't, dude. It's just so bad. And they have like some discount Evan Peters playing in it too. Like
Mm.
it's like Evan Peters was busy, so they got a guy who kind of looks like him, but not really in the film. And then there's the real doll, Kim Kardashian, like in the film. And
What?
it's funny because like she's in all these like scenes with Emma Roberts, and like one looks like an actual person, right? And the other one looks like an android or some weird sort of like simulation of a person, you know?
What is this season's plot in a couple sentences?
It has to do with to me, what it seems like it's going is like a Rosemary's Baby kind of thing,
Okay.
which is awesome. That's a great idea. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
they riff on these classic ideas and these concepts, and they usually do a halfway decent job. I mean, at varying degrees of success over the years. I thought the New York City one was really good last year.
Yeah, we dug it. We dug
Yeah,
it hard. Yeah, it was brutal,
yeah.
dark. Yeah.
But this year is just a failure, man. I think they should just like stop doing them now. You know, if they're not going to get the cast right and the writing sucks and like all that stuff. You know.
Mm.
Funny, my girlfriend is downstairs watching that right now as we're recording that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a
And
huge fan of the show. I don't hate it or anything. I just haven't seen much of it.
I can't back it fully. I mean, I like it. I like watching it every year. It's part of like my annual thing around this time of year. But I really cannot like definitively say that I like it. You know what I mean? If someone doesn't like it, I understand. You know what I mean? It's like one of those things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But on the book side of things, the reprint of Noctuary and Spectral Link by Thomas Ligotti just arrived in my mailbox the other day, and that was brought to us by Chiroptera Press, who's an arm of Cadabra Records. So they've been reprinting a lot of this classic Ligotti material and some new stuff by him too. Like his poetry just came out a few months ago, and I haven't dug into it yet. It literally just arrived, and it's got an incredible cover by Paul Romano, the famous artist there, Paul Romano, and it's just a really nice package. I'm really looking forward to reading it again.
That's amazing.
Speaking of
Uh,
books, I saw that I was waiting for this to happen. Heat 2 is finally in paperback, so I'm going to get it and read it. I'm a big Heat fan, Michael Mann, the
oh,
action
yeah.
film from 1995. Um, then there's another book I wanted to check out that I've been also waiting for it to come out in paperback, which is the Quentin Tarantino film book. But then I saw that that's not going to be in paperback till April of next year, even though the book has been out for quite a while. So I was like, oh, damn,
Mm.
that's annoying. I'm trying to stay away from certain hardcovers, guys, in case you're,
Yeah,
hadn't figured it out.
I was gonna ask why waiting for paperback.
Weight issues and carrying on the trains, the simplicity, when I have to move, less hardcovers are better, let's just say, things like
That's
that.
a good point. When I used to tour all the time, I would only take paperbacks because that
Mm.
very reason. Yeah, I should have realized that. It was a stupid question.
No, it's fine because some people insist on the opposite. They want the hardcover first run, whatever. But I may waver and just grab the Tarantino anyway because now, of course, the price is dropping. But I
Mm.
think that's a fucking really cool book, by the way.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
I'd like
looks
to
really
read both of
cool.
those. Yeah.
Mm.
So we got a bunch of voicemails this week. And if you guys want to call in on the Necro phone, of course, that's 908-913-0782. 908-913-0782. And I got to be honest with you guys, I really appreciate all of the calls, all the callers, and the support has been awesome. And
Yeah.
I look forward to hearing from everybody every week, man. So keep them coming.
Mm.
Absolutely.
So first up, we got our buddy Mike from Telford, PA. And Mike's always, can
Love
always rely
Mike.
on Mike. I look forward to hearing from him every week, and if
Mhm.
not, it feels weird to not hear from him sometimes. You know what I mean? He might take,
Yes.
the guy, I know he's got a life, he's got a life to lead, but, I want to hear
Mm.
from him every week. I want to stay in touch. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man.
Yo, Necro Hoods. It's Mike from Telford. Just got done listening to the VHS episode. I haven't seen any of those flicks, but I always enjoy the episodes, so just check some of them out. I'm here in upstate New York. It was my mother's birthday today, and I'm out here in the garage listening to a little Universe Zero, and just watched a movie called Beware My Brethren. It's an early 70s movie, British movie. It's also known as The Fiend. It was pretty cool. Patrick McGee plays like a fucking cuckoo priest in that movie, but it's definitely worth checking out if you haven't seen it. There's a lot going on up here right now, and I'm gonna miss Oxbow tomorrow down in Philly. So I hope they're fucking awesome when you see them, Mike. Just read Eugene's book in a fucking day. Amazing. I hope there's a part 2 to that. That guy's a fucking genius. So hope you dudes are all right. Look forward to next week, and that's it. Short and sweet this week, guys. Appreciate everything. Take her easy. Later.
All right. So Mike's up in upstate New York.
Mm.
You know, uh, the Eugene Robinson book, his book also arrived the other day, his
Yeah, I'm gonna
biography.
read that.
Looking forward to that,
Mhm.
and you know, um, Brethren, I'm not familiar with that. Are you guys familiar with Beware My Brethren, that movie?
No.
No, but if he's recommending it and if it's from the wheelhouse that we enjoy, then I will check it out. Is the Eugene book like basically like a bio, like a biography?
Yeah, it's a bio. It's this autobiography that
Oh,
goes
about
into
it. Yeah.
a period of
Cool. Okay.
time. It
Is it
Nice.
talks
soft
about
cover?
Hey, hey, be
I'm waiting for
nice.
the audio book to come out.
Jeff, Jeff, you be nice. That's right. Right.
And of course, Oxbow is on tour right now, so make sure you check those guys out. They're playing in Brooklyn, New York tonight. All right, next up, we got Davis from Pittsburgh.
Hi, gentlemen. This is Tavis calling in from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Been enjoying the show. The last few, the ones with Let's Scare Jessica to Death and Lamora, two personal favorites, kind of inspired me to call in with some recommendations for some similar type films of that eerie atmosphere. First would be The Innocents from 1961, and another would be the Don't Be Afraid of the Dark made-for-TV movie from 1973. I also wanted to bring up the passing of director Jeff Burr. He kind of flew under the radar in our genre, and mostly known for probably Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3, a couple Puppet Master movies, Stepfather 2. But he did that anthology movie, From a Whisper to a Scream, which I think was Vincent Price's last movie, which is really good. And also Night of the Scarecrow from the 90s. Very cool horror movie. But great show, guys. Appreciate it. Have a good one.
Right on, man. So yeah, that's awesome that you appreciated Let's Scare Jessica to Death and Lamora. The Innocents is a movie that I've heard about. Are you guys familiar with that older film?
I literally see like the box cover in my head. Like I know the movie that he's talking about, but I have not seen it. No.
Isn't there a newer movie called The Innocents?
There's a couple of films. There's a movie called The Innocents that came out a couple of years ago. It's like black and white. It was on the Arrow service. And that was really good, but I haven't seen this one from the older film. I think it was from the 50s, he said. I haven't seen that one.
60, I think 60 something. Or 60s, I can't remember. Yeah.
I think I have it, but never watched it. Yeah, it was on my radar for sure. I really gotta watch that.
And of course, the TV movie "Don't Be Afraid of the Dark" is a classic. That's one of my favorites. Probably one of the better television TV movies, ever, really, in the horror genre.
Honestly, that must have fucking horrified the kids back in the day. Like, I mean, I saw it many years after the fact because I think it's the early 70s, and I was just too young when that came out, or maybe mid, and I was still too young. But seeing that as it aired must have been insane.
Yeah, that and like Trilogy of Terror.
Yeah.
And of course, my parents taking me to go see The Exorcist at a very young age was a intense experience for me.
I do have a great TV horror memory, which is one of my favorite, and it's the on CBS, Dark Night of the Scarecrow. Watching that at about 10 years old or whatever, at 9 or 10, I can't remember. Oh my God, that was so fucking scary as a kid.
Yeah, totally. It doesn't quite hold up, does it? But it's still like great. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And of course, let's give respect to the late Jeff Burr, who recently passed. And that seems to be, he's a guy that kind of slips by a lot of people, but yeah, let's give a little respect for him.
No, totally. R.I.P.
Next up, we got Dave from Razor Eater Metal page on Instagram. And he's a guy who's been around. He's checked him out. I've liked a lot of stuff on his page, And thanks for the support, Dave. Appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, what's up, Necromaniacs? It's your buddy Dave over at the Razor Eater Metal page on Instagram. Just wanted to touch base as I haven't touched base in a little while. Hadn't watched anything new in a little while as well. But last night, my wife and I went out, little date night, and we watched the new Saw movie, Saw X. Or is it Saw 10? I don't even know. There's so many of those movies. But did enjoy it, I must say. It was one of the better films in that franchise for sure. Good practical effects, good gore, and actually pretty decent storyline. Definitely better than the previous one, Jigsaw, and definitely holds up better than some of the ones that came later in the series as well. So if you guys ever get the chance to check that one out, definitely recommend it. I did revisit and rewatch the original Exorcist a few weeks back, and that's the GOAT in my eyes. I think it's the greatest of all time. It has to be. Still holds up. Still creeps me out to this day. Still freaks me out, and I'm looking forward to hearing you guys' thoughts on Exorcist Believer. I haven't gotten a chance to see it yet. I was talking to Carl. He said he saw it and shared his thoughts with me. I'm still torn, judging by the trailers for it. So looking forward to hearing what you guys have to say. Hopefully I get a chance to see it before you guys cover it. And just wanted to say, hey, loving the episodes as usual. And big cheers to all you guys. Have a good one. Bye.
So yeah, Saw X. Jeff, didn't you say you just saw that?
I did. Yeah. I watched it a few nights ago. I mean, how do you guys feel about the Saw movies? Are you fans? Is there anyone in particular that stands out to you as being good?
I saw the first three in the theater with my brother John. Actually, we it was our little thing for a while, and I don't remember anything after that. And I almost struggle to remember the first three. It's like it's a franchise that is beloved by some, but for me, it's almost like I don't know, it's like a throwaway franchise. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's not terrible though. It's not terrible. It's cool. Like it's like there are far worse horror films. I think there are worse franchises, but I don't know. It's just kind of there for me.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. I haven't liked any of the ones I saw, and I watched the Chris Rock one that came out a couple of years ago, and I heard this is different. This is going to be something different, and it's good. And I disagreed, and then I started to see the reviews for Saw X trickle in. I'm like, oh, wow, it's got like 70 something% on Rotten Tomatoes. Horror fans are talking about this is the best one, so I thought I'd give it a shot, and yeah, not for me. It starts off pretty strong,
Mm-hmm.
and then it just turns into a Saw movie. And they somehow made the Jigsaw Killer like the moral center of the film, which I found a little confusing. And this is a prequel to, I think it takes place after the second one or the third one. I don't quite. Well, he dies in the third one, but spoiler. But yeah, so it's a prequel because he's still alive. Yeah, I don't know. It was just another Saw movie, and those movies are just an excuse for, clever traps, murder, violence. I don't think there's a lot of artistry to it whatsoever. It seems to have the most in common with like something like Friday the 13th, that was sort of cynically made as a way to get butts and seats in the theater.
Right.
And
right.
This feels that's what Saw is to me. I'm just not a fan. They're not for me.
Yeah, I saw the first couple. The first one I thought was entertaining. I haven't seen the Chris Rock one. It doesn't look interesting to me at all. And but I gotta say that I don't know. Like I probably will see Saw 10 or X, whatever it's called, just because it seems like something that eventually will end up drifting into my viewport at some point. But so we'll see.
Yeah.
I take a new Saw like I take a new Scream movie. It's not a priority. It's not like a priority to watch. Like,
Right.
I'll get around to it. I have not seen anything beyond Scream 4, I think, at this point, or 3. And it's just something I don't know. It's not my go-to. And I've heard these good things about some of these later Scream ones, but it's just, I don't know, man. There's too many good movies from the 70s and 80s to enjoy, to waste my time on that, I feel like.
Agreed. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can't go wrong with the original Exorcist. That one is just like, classic goat material,
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah. I rewatched it a week and a half ago, the original Exorcist, and it's funny. Although The Shining is my number one, The Exorcist is my number two. Exorcist is a better movie than The Shining, in my opinion. Even though it's my number two, it's just such a good story, and it's like perfect. It's like it's a perfect film, the original Exorcist. Which leads us to today's movie.
I did that, guys. I kind of like,
yeah, very nice.
All these things.
I like it.
Nice work.
Very good. Very, very good.
So that brings us to The Exorcist Believer, which just was released October 6th, 2023. 111 minutes long, directed by David Gordon Green, with screenplay by Peter Sattler and David Gordon Green. So there you go. What is there to say about this film?
Well, as listeners know, David Gordon Green is the man who brought us the trilogy of the Halloween films, which coincidentally we had our roundtable discussions for those films, as longtime listeners will know. And hey, on paper, this was a very exciting idea. I was all about it. I was into it. I thought, look, although the two of the Halloween films were a bit of, fumbles, let's just say, I thought, again, the idea was good, and I enjoyed Halloween 2018 quite a bit, actually. And I felt that perhaps this is in competent hands as the direct sequel to just the original Exorcist from, 73. And, we can put everything else on a shelf and let's do a follow-up to that movie. And I'm like, on paper, fuck yeah, let's go. But guys, as we know, things do not work out according to plan sometimes.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
Well, it's okay. So we talked a little bit about how you guys just talked a little bit about how you feel about the original Exorcist. It's a classic movie. It's one of the greats. It's, it has a lot to live up to. If you're going to be a direct sequel to The Exorcist, it comes with a lot of expectations.
Yeah.
And not only that, Exorcist 3 is, I think, slowly creeping up to maybe be my favorite of the Exorcist movies. So there's some good work in there. Exorcist 2 is one of the worst movies ever made.
Yeah, it's wild. It's wildly, insanely bad. Yes,
it is. It's so bad. It's entertaining. Like, I kind of enjoy watching it, as in how did this go so wrong kind of way. And then we have the two prequels that are one movie, but there's two different versions of it.
Yes.
And not very good.
No.
And so it would seem that there's not a lot of life in this franchise. So the studio paying $400 million to get the rights to the name seemed like a crazy idea to me.
Yeah.
And you would think that they would take all the time and effort in the world to get this 100% right.
Right.
There's a lot riding on it. And well, I guess we'll discuss, did they do that? And I think everyone listening knows that they did not.
No, I think they treated it by the middle of the movie. It's like I felt like they had treated it like, it's just another horror movie, whatever. Exorcist, Schmexorcist, whatever.
That's the vibe I got from the trailer. I saw the trailer before we saw Talk to Me. And halfway through, I dawned on me that this was the Exorcist trailer. And I thought, oh boy, we're in trouble.
Yeah, I mean, have any of you guys seen the TV series that was back in 2016?
Yes, I saw season 1. I think there was 2 seasons of it, and I'm trying to remember what was going on in my life at that time that I did not go back to it, but I did enjoy season 1, and that captured the essence of The Exorcist way more than this movie did. I have to say.
That's what I was gonna reference. That it's like I felt somewhat optimistic when I heard the film was being remade, because I know that it's possible that the TV series season 1 specifically really captured the vibe of the whole story. It had that blatty sort of energy to it. Yeah. So I'm like, maybe as long as I'm like, okay, cool. They're not remaking it, they're not retelling
right.
the story. Right. It's a continuation of what happened in the same timeline. But the biggest mistake, I think, was the fan service that they did in this movie, because there should be no fan service in Exorcist. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like Father Damien, or he's dead. He comes back. He somewhat comes back in 3. He's reanimated 5. So he's gone. Ellen Burstyn is like a broken person, really, in some ways. Her character at the end of the first is like someone who wants to probably distance herself from this whole experience and move on.
Yes.
She's not like Jamie Lee Curtis's character, you know what I mean? Like Laurie Strode or something,
Right.
And in Believer, they're bringing her back like some kind of Laurie Strode-esque character. And I think that was one of the biggest mistakes they made in the film. And of course, not to spoil anything, but there's another character that shows up at the end that I thought I cringed. So I physically cringed when that happened. So I won't reveal that to anyone out there who hasn't seen it. So yeah.
All right.
I laughed. I just got to say, I laughed.
Well, here's the thing. Chris McNeil, complex character, wonderfully portrayed, by Bernstein. I think this movie and David Gordon Green, who you would think would understand like the original more and understand the characters more and have a script that lined up with the how they were in the original, who they were as people. This movie doesn't do that. Like you said, it turns Chris McNeil into like a different person who went out and wrote a book about it and became a crusader about it and lost communication with her daughter about it. Whereas if you watch the original, that's not what this woman would do at all, right?
Not at all.
Right. Yeah.
And of course, she's an actress too, as a whole like career.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But she keeps it private. She definitely, at the end of that movie, this is something that woman would take to the grave. I felt like, right? Like it's just kind of the vibe you get from her. What do you think, Jeff?
No, I completely agree with that. Well, the script is a mess. Like after if you take her character out of the movie, it's really not that different of a movie. It felt very shoehorned in to connect it to the original. I thought that was the only reason I could see for keeping her around. You know, I had read that there's some version that they filmed a lot of this before she had even signed on to it.
Right.
So I'm wondering if the original the focus of the film was her. But yeah, it felt like an afterthought. Like we got to have a callback to the original, and you know, yeah, here's the mother for literally 10 minutes.
Yeah, it's like, did it even need her? Okay, let's get to the beginning. Let's get to the things that are actually pretty good about the movie, right? Because I think we all thought that there were some good moments. I definitely did.
Yeah.
I think the movie starts well. You know, like it kind of harkened to that similar beginning. There's actually two things in particular right off the bat that were callbacks to the OG. That if you're a big fan of the OG, you might have noticed. Number one was the font on the screen of the lettering for the credits. Did you guys catch that? It's the same font of the original Exorcist, which is cool. And then there's a scene of two dogs fighting, which is literally right at the beginning.
It's the first shot of the movie. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So, dude, I'm in the theater. Hey, I paid money, went to the theater to see this like we did. I was like, okay, sick. You know, it has that interesting kind of vibe, like that. You know, with like the scenery in the background and the music, and I was optimistic for the beginning, maybe even the first half hour plus of the movie, which I thought went well. We have new girls and a new possession, and you know what I'm saying. Yeah. And then of course it loses the pot, as they say.
Right when the supernatural stuff starts happening is when the film totally lost me. Because I agree. I thought the first 30 minutes, while I was watching it, I thought the first 30 minutes was pretty solid family drama. Then it kind of turns into a missing person film, almost a little bit like that movie Prisoners. I'm sure you guys have seen that. But one thing, you know, since it's been about 2 or 3 weeks since I've seen it, I did, you know, thinking back about what I liked and what I didn't like. And I was like, yeah, the first 30, 40 minutes is good. But I noticed like it wasn't really building tension or atmosphere at all. Like it's just sort of very flat and uninteresting. And of course, when you go back to the original Exorcist and Exorcist 3, that's what the whole movie is just building this tone of dread, and it's atmospheric. You know, you feel the weather in that first Exorcist movie. You feel like, you know, the dreariness. Like this is really lacking that.
Yeah, there's no Halloween in Georgetown kind of, you know, walking the streets of DC moment here, and there's no like, I don't know, it doesn't put you in that place that you need to be very well. But I will say that actor Leslie Odom Jr. was great. He's almost like too good to be in this movie to a degree, because I thought everybody else was really not that great at all, actually. Yeah. What do you think, Hill?
Yeah. A couple things here. There's I agree. There's completely no atmosphere in this film. Okay. Um, Getting back to the first Exorcist 1 and 3, both of those stories are small stories. You know what I mean? Like, especially one. It all takes place basically in one room, you know? And like, I think, Mike, you touched on it. The O'Neill family would hide this thing. Like, they would keep it out of the papers. No one would know about it. Just maybe the police, you know, like Kinnaman knew about it because he was involved. So in Exorcist 3, Kinnaman, you know, was aware of the whole case and all this other stuff. You know what I mean? This film, if I almost felt like if they kind of framed it up almost as like almost like a folk horror kind of storyline, because you got these two girls, they walk in the woods, they find some, you know, cave or whatever, and they come back different, you know, possessed, departing completely from the narrative of the first and the third. I think that would have been a really interesting departure for that, and tie in like this demon, you know, with like kind of like Christian mythology and like some other type of entity, you know, and be like, oh, it's, you know, it's this evil that's out there that possesses these two girls, and just completely eschewing anything that has to do with the O'Neill family. I think that would have been a very interesting place to go with the story. And like what Jeff was saying, it's like they just like, we need a hook. Okay, great. You know, let's connect this to the O'Neill family and all the stuff that happened. But the reality is, like, there's really no story to tell past Exorcist 3 that involves any of these characters. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. Well, no, I completely agree. Another, like you say, there's no story to tell. Like, I thought if you're going to connect this to the original Exorcist, make Ellen Bernstein's character the focus of the movie. Make it her point of view and what her life is like now. Instead, this movie has a very weird point of view. You have two girls that are possessed. You have some sort of exorcist crew, but really the focus of the movie is I'm sorry, I didn't write down anyone's names. Victor's family, Victor and his daughter.
Yeah.
I found that to be an odd choice, where in the original you have several different points of view. You know, you start with you know, the father in Iraq, and he's you know, that wonderful opening sequence, and then you have, you know, Father Karras, and you have the McNeil. It has all these different points of view, and it sets up all the characters really well. So when everything comes together at the end, it's satisfying. This is about two possessed girls, and the movie solely focuses on one family. And for the life of me, I couldn't figure out why. I was like, maybe there's like a cut of this movie that's an hour longer. That's the only thing I could come up with.
I think you're right. Why even have two girls? Number one,
makes no sense.
It should be one girl, mainly because, let's see, the movie you're showing to the public treats the other girls as throwaways. So it's like,
yeah,
and she, you know, spoiler alert, she doesn't make it. So it's like, that was nonsensical. We have this voodoo angle that is not fully fleshed out, not even really explained. Do we even know the name of this demon? It's not Pazuzu who's possessed these girls. So it's like, it's just a lot of half-assed ideas, okay? And some pretty poor dialogue. The one moment of Chris McNeil talking about not allowed in the room because of the patriarchy was absurd. She wasn't allowed in the room because she wasn't a priest, and no one was allowed in the room. Her, you know, was it her butler, her servant? He was a man. He lived in that house. He wasn't allowed in the room. Nobody was allowed in the room because you're not an exorcist and you're not a priest. You know what I'm saying? It's like, come on, you know? And she was in the room many, many times, obviously, before the final exorcism, as we all know. Again, just something I don't think Chris McNeil would have said or thought. But like I said, half-baked ideas. And Jeff, I think you're right. I think there's some extra footage, perhaps somewhere, maybe quite a bit of it, that is hopefully fleshes this out. Like I feel like, you know, it's been a few weeks and I'm just like, wait a minute, what was the demon? Like, it's just, I don't even remember, you know, weird.
I don't even remember how the kids got possessed. They go in the woods and they get possessed. It was, yeah. I did want to ask about that patriarchy line because I have a feeling that that's a real sticking point for a lot of people. I wasn't sure what they were trying to say. This movie doesn't seem to have any sort of agenda at all. That movie, I mean, that line just was such a bizarre
Hmm.
thing to say. Like that, like you said, she wasn't in the room because she's not an exorcist. I mean, those guys belong. Even like doesn't Father Karras or one of the he kicks out one of the Max von Sydow's character kicks out the other priest. He's like, you can't handle
Yes,
this.
yes, exactly, exactly.
It's almost like a spit in the face of the original to have that line. I was just very confused by it. It seemed really out of place. Almost like a producer's note, like oh, the kids are concerned about the patriarchy.
Oh my God. Guys, can you imagine if Friedkin was alive and
I,
saw this movie?
it would have killed him.
No, but he was funny as fuck and like big mouth and just said whatever. Oh my God. Like it would have been golden. It's a
Yeah, oh man,
golden
he
response to this movie.
would have ripped this to shreds. But yeah, I don't know, Mike Hill. If you have any ideas about that line or like its inclusion, I found it utterly baffling. It's
Yeah,
all I thought
I
about for
feel
the rest
like
of the movie.
some like producer. You know how like everyone's a producer these days. Like that's like
Yeah,
it's like a title that people just seem to have. Just like some like vegan chick with green hair, was like
Yes.
the patriarchy. We have to make a comment on how like the patriarchy in the Catholic Church is like behind keeping
Hmm.
Ellen Burstyn's the Chris O'Neill's character out of this thing, and I'm just like, I get it. We live in a world like this is what's going on, but like we don't need every angle to be covered in the same light, and it's like especially this, it's completely irrelevant. It had nothing to do with her being a woman or these guys being men.
No, no.
Your background in being able to do an exorcism, and it's like, I don't know, it's heavy handed. I'm over it. I don't need to be told things like that.
yeah.
Go
But
away.
the character after that, she feels like she can do battle with this demon for no reason. It doesn't set any of that up. We don't know really what she's been up to for the last 50 years. And Victor goes, he hears about this book, and he just shows up at Chris McNeil's doorstep. And she's like, yeah, okay, sure.
That
Like,
was
imagine
wild.
if you wrote a
It was
book and someone
wild.
showed up
Yeah.
on your doorstep, like, would you be like, yeah, cool, let's go hang out?
I'd be like, I call the cops on him. Right?
That
Yeah.
needed better. That needed a better bridging. Like, can you fathom a movie in the 70s, 80s, 90s, or even early O's where that's the arc, like a serious movie, or at least something that's taken from a serious source, where it's like he reads a book and then gets in his car and goes to her house, a complete stranger who is it's just obscene. It's obscene. Like,
Yeah, she's like fucking drinking whiskey and shit. And like, I mean, yeah, maybe that's it. She was hammered. She's like, yeah, I'll get in a car with you.
Even just that whole thing is like completely out of character for Chris O'Neill.
Yeah.
The actress, the
yeah,
recovered person who's like recovered from this horrible thing that happened like 30, 40, 50 years ago, however long it was. I just don't see that character writing a book about this. I see that character suppressing this and pushing it way down and never wanting to think about it again. I mean, think about it. It's like if you had like a daughter that was possessed by a demon, you're not going to want to revisit. You're not going to want to like exploit that and write a book about it. Like, how about people commenting about the exploitation of someone, of a young person? Like
Right.
they comment on the patriarchy. What about a mother exploiting this horrible thing that happened to her daughter and writing a book about it? You know what I mean? That's like, total exploitation. And I just don't see the character Chris O'Neill doing something like that. And furthermore, making this kind of like cottage industry out of like exploitation, basically, and I just don't see that being practical or likely.
Yeah, agreed. And the fact that she tries to perform an exorcism herself
Yeah,
was
ridiculous.
yeah,
yeah.
exactly ridiculous. And of course, it goes horribly wrong. But it was just, I thought it was a betrayal of that character. They really just brought her back to humiliate her almost. It was
Yeah.
so utterly pointless.
Then
Uh,
they blind her and mutilate her, and it's just like, what was like?
Yeah.
I think it might have been a better film, you know, if they did 100 things, but it might have been a better film if they left her out and maybe just like talked about her, like, you know what I'm saying, like mentioned her, or maybe mentioned this book, and just had her in the, like, the backdrop, you know what I'm saying, and had
Yeah.
a new possession movie in the world of The Exorcist, right? Something like that. Like, I don't know. Like, I could have been at the table for this and come up with a bunch of ideas for this that did not include any of the bizarre choices that they made. And then, like, just some of the overall acting. Like, I thought the girl who doesn't make it, I really should know her name. Like, her parents, I thought, were just very poor actors, especially the dad. Like, remember the scene where, like, they first meet and it's like he's like racist. Dad is just like,
Yeah, totally. Real
like,
heavy-handed, definitely.
Yeah,
yeah,
that was
like,
so, yeah.
what is
Yeah.
that? Come
And
on, this is 2023. Is it 1953? I mean, what is this? It's like, come on, people. We could do better, as they say.
as they say,
Do better. Let's flip it. You know, we can do
yeah,
better.
and you don't know these characters at all, so you don't really care. I agree. Leslie Odom Jr. is by leaps and bounds above everyone else here,
Hmm.
but no one in the cast is really given a lot to work with. I think this movie is just filled with half baked ideas that go nowhere. Like, take for instance, the title is Exorcist Believer. Well,
Right.
who's the believer?
Yeah,
What is
totally.
that? What's believer? What is that? I don't even, like, what is someone like in such vast disbelief here? Like, I don't know.
They hint at the father Victor not being into religion or anything like that, but it's not like an overall theme of the movie like it is again in the first one. One of the priests, is it Father Karras? I always get him confused. As having a crisis of faith, and you
Paris, yeah.
have, yeah,
Yeah,
you have,
Jason Miller as Father Karras, the greatest
yeah,
character.
yeah, and you have, Chris McNeil, whose daughter is possessed. She doesn't believe in any of this stuff. She's at her wits' end. She doesn't know what to do. She's desperate. She goes to the priest for help. Like, for this to be called Believer, it needed something like that. Someone needed to have some sort of spiritual transformation or
Hmm.
something.
Yeah.
But I don't really feel I mean, it was kind of there with the father,
Mhm.
but not enough. And
Anything else you liked, Mike and Jeff, about this? Like, anything that, like, was like, okay.
Yeah.
I
I
think we
mean,
all like the beginning, like
the beginning was cool. Like the effects looked good. But,
hmm.
I just want to add to what Jeff was saying about the believer thing. I mean, even Father Karras in the first one didn't believe really. Like he was losing faith in even his
Losing faith.
belief in God and his religion.
right,
And when because he was like, at heart, he was, he was a psychologist. Like, he had was more of a man of science as opposed to spirituality. And this whole rich background of him, maybe because he's Greek, his mother kind of being like led into the priesthood, you know what I mean? Without maybe not having doubts about everything, and
right,
not even really believing that exorcism is real or that even what Reagan was going through was real. But in this version of it, it's like the exorcists are like, oh yeah, we got another exorcism job coming, with it. Like, it's just like, we got another one of these. So, call Jimmy, he'll take care of it. Like very like, oh yeah, run of the mill. We run into this all the time. You know what I mean? And it's like,
yeah, well,
that's the thing. That sense of like the realism of that. I mean, that's the thing that's captured in the first film, in the original Exorcist, where it's like we live in a rational world. Something completely irrational is happening, and everyone responds to that in a rational way. Yeah, obviously, it's like some psychological problem or whatever. But in this one, right away they jump to this like, fanciful element to it, and it's just I just didn't buy it. You know what I mean? It just it didn't
right.
wasn't consistent with the vibe of 1 and 3.
They tried to set it up as the neighbor to Victor's family, that she's going to be like the mouthpiece. Like, oh, this is what's happening. Yeah, and it gets to that really, yeah, man. I mentioned Who is the Believer? Who is the Exorcist?
There's 17 of them.
There's like a whole crew.
Yes, it's the Scooby.
What?
I read this great take of the original on a social media post or somewhere, and I wish I saved it, but I remembered it, where the person said that the Exorcist original is not a movie about a possessed little girl, and it's not even really about Reagan ultimately, and that Pazuzu, although who had the run-in with Merrin, Pazuzu was coming for Karis, actually. And everything that happens to Reagan is she's kind of like almost like the fodder. It's just like the demon comes through her because of her susceptibility, but ultimately that demon was gunning for Karis. And if you watch the movie, you can almost see it with each time Karis visits the house and each time he talks to the demon and the realizations. And that, it was this really cool take about how Reagan was just like the vehicle for the demon to come for Karis. Karis was a priest who was losing his faith, and that was the demon's goal, to get him. He was lured in by Reagan. Reagan had a divorced family, broken home. Her mother was atheist. Reagan was not baptized. Like, there's all these very interesting things about Reagan, about how susceptible she was for possession, but ultimately the demon didn't care if she lived or died and just wanted Karis. So I loved reading that, actually.
That's an interesting take, yeah.
That's really cool, yeah.
But I mean, yeah, the film is called The Exorcist. It's clear who the exorcists are in this. Like, okay, David Gordon Green, this is like, I'm starting to notice a pattern in his films of community. Like, you have Halloween Kills with Evil Dies Tonight, one of the fucking dumbest things. I think we made our point about that. But this is Evil Dies Tonight Part 2, basically, because you have this posse who come together to fight this demon, this posse that has no real dog in this fight, so to speak. These people, at one point, like, they're literally, these people showed up in his house. His neighbor brought over like a witch doctor. Okay. The movie feels afraid to be overtly like Catholic or pro-religion, which, I mean, I guess I'm an atheist myself. I'm not a religious person, but the movie, I seem to like not want to take the point of view that like this is a very Catholic story. It's about exorcism, and like it did not want to have that. Like, it's like, again, and like the movie's almost like made by committee. Like, oh, we can't have this, we can't have this. Like, if we have a pro-Catholic thing, people won't come see it. I think as it has to be a Catholic-centered movie, and
100%.
Yeah, and you can make all kinds of comments on it, like William Friedkin did in the original. But this movie just seems afraid of that. It's gonna be like, every religion matters. It was.
I got thoughts on that too. I mean,
Okay.
like for example, we're in the Halloween season. Okay. Now I saw some dullard online talk about All Saints Day. Some guy commented on something that my girlfriend posted on Facebook about Halloween, and this guy's like some right wing, Christian Catholic sort of guy about All Saints Day and whatever. So of course I responded. I never respond to anything on Facebook. I never go on Facebook. I was like, not sure where you got your information from, pal, but like, Halloween predates the Christian presence by 2,000 years. It's like a pagan thing, right? That the Christians may have overlaid their philosophy on. Okay. So what I would like to have seen is like this demon being sort of just an evil, and any of these Christian beliefs, any of these Christian beliefs in Catholicism is like overlaid on top of something that's way more cosmic than just the Christianity or Catholicism. And that's what I mean. Like, when I first started watching this film, I was like, oh, these girls they go into the woods and they disappear. And then they go into a cave, and it's like, all right, cool. This is like some, Hades and Persephone sort of trip, and I was hoping that's the direction they were going to take, where it was like this kind of mythological evil, this cosmic evil that was possessing these two girls, and then Christianity is just like a way of trying to interpret and describe like what's actually going on. But of course, the film doesn't go in that direction. You know what I mean? It goes into this very generic sort of run of the mill, and that's what I want to see. I want to see people do challenging stuff like that in movies, especially when you have a blank page like this. You're taking, I mean, Blatty's like work is not necessarily Catholic. It's spiritual in a lot of ways, but it also casts a lot of doubts, especially in Legion, about consciousness and mortality and the afterlife and all these things. Like, it has like a very secular view on all that stuff, and I think that's what when this film would do something along those lines, but it just doesn't.
It needed to be in smarter hands, like and Blumhouse and David Gordon Green. I just don't think that was the right combination of people. This almost feels like a shallow cash grab with nothing to say.
Yeah. I think getting back to the Catholic thing, it's funny. Read this interesting review of sorts. John Moldering of the Catholic Review noted that Friedkin's Watergate era picture was a straightforward confrontation between Reagan's tormentor and two Catholic priests. Driving Away the Devil, by contrast, takes on the qualities of a circus in this film, promoting a humanistic, vaguely anti-Catholic outlook that could be spiritually dangerous for anyone inclined to take it seriously. If you look at the OG and you look at this, there's a stark difference, I feel like, where Jeff, I agree with you, where they almost wanted to be like, oh no, we can't really make this about like God or the devil. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like,
right.
They went for this, like, it came out hokey, and schlocky. It didn't come out serious. Whereas ultimately, that first movie was one of the greatest advertisements for Catholicism ever. You know what I'm saying? Like, unintentionally, and what a great advertisement for, oh my God, the devil is real and God is real. You don't get any of that in this movie.
No, God, no. One of the theme I picked up on in the movie was choice, that which again undercooked. At the beginning of the movie, Victor has to make a choice between saving his wife or his child, and you cut to 13 years later, and obviously his child lived. And then making a choice again shows up at the end again, and it didn't make any sense. No, I don't want to give away the ending, but nothing about it really made any sense.
No,
at all. It just sort of ends and it has this like, oh, glad that's over with kind of feel to it.
They should have called it The Exorcist, Sophie's Choice, or Exorcist Choice, because Exorcist Believer. It's an odd title.
Nothing about this is fully thought through. It's half-assed ideas thrown on to it feels like they had a title before they had anything else. I mean, man, I didn't have high
expectations for this. It's just half-baked. It's definitely
half-baked. Yeah. But even with low expectations going into it, after seeing the reviews, after seeing the trailer, I still walked out like that was not even as good as my lowered expectations thought it would be.
What's the guy from Rennie sent us the link, our quality control expert, Rennie Rosmini. It's a movie made by people who did not fundamentally understand The Exorcist. An Exorcist movie made by people who did not fundamentally understand The Exorcist. It's true. Totally true.
I can see how Gordon Green can do Halloween. He seems to understand how to make an effective slasher film. But The Exorcist requires so much more than that. It's a different set of skills to make that kind of a horror movie, like an Exorcist kind of horror movie, than it is to make a Halloween movie.
Martin Scorsese could have made a better Exorcist. Like, honestly, just like a serious director. Like, well, he loves horror. He loves The Exorcist, and that freaking was a friend. I mean, think about it. Like, the director is so important, and Green was just he wasn't the guy for the job, Jeff. You're right. Yeah.
Dude,
Yeah, interesting career he's had.
imagine Abel Ferrara making Exorcist.
Yeah.
How sick would that be? It would have Schooly D in the soundtrack.
Hey, it would be infinitely more interesting than this. I'll say this about Exorcist 2. As terrible as it is, it's a lot more interesting to watch because man, they swung big on Exorcist 2 and they did not play it safe. It's almost admirable how fucking bad that movie is, how what a swing and a miss it is. But this is just such a dull, flat, lifeless, spineless movie.
Where did you guys watch this? Like where did you stream it? Did you go to a theater? What was your environment in watching this?
Mike, I went to our sacred and profane Alpine Cinema in Bay Ridge. Where did you go, Jeff?
I saw it at the Alamo Drafthouse in Austin at 1:30 in the afternoon on a Friday, and there was 4 other people in the theater.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, it was empty. Yeah, Draft House is my favorite movie theater in the world. I'll see anything if it's playing there. That was the nicest experience part of the whole thing because the Draft House curates everything you see before the movie to the movie you're seeing. Like all the trailers were possession movies.
Yeah,
and they showed the SNL parody of The Exorcist with Richard Pryor.
That's so great.
It's infinitely better than the movie I watched.
Yeah,
I checked it out at the South Orange Performing Arts Center, which was a very nice experience. It's
nice.
It's we have we're boycotting the AMC.
I support this.
They are a blight on the theatrical experience, and people should never go to AMC's again. They have really come down in quality and overall experience, and I will never step foot in another AMC again. So there you go.
Wow. Yeah. The Alpine in Bay Ridge, which is where Mike and I
Serbian film.
Saw a Serbian film, which was that helped launch the ship, so to speak, many moons ago. There was about maybe 10 people in the theater, you know. There was no round of applause at the end, guys. There was no round of applause.
Shocking.
But earlier before we hit record, I remarked to the fellas listeners that although the movie's getting pretty panned everywhere, it has, believe it or not, gone on to make $107 million on a $30 million budget. That is the worldwide gross, which, I guess the studio was like, well, shit, thank God for that. I mean, nobody likes this movie. It's made $54 million in the US and 53 and change in other territories. I was very surprised to see those numbers, actually.
Me too. I also am hearing rumblings, not hearing anything directly, but on articles that David Gordon Green is getting fired from the next movie. He's not going to be directing it.
Yeah. Some listeners may know that the whole idea behind this was pretty much just like Halloween, where there was going to be 3 theatrical films for this new franchise. But needless to say that it was not the case. I mean, look, hey, at least Halloween, made it out the gate theatrically amidst the COVID turmoil and whatnot. And I obviously did infinitely better than this first one.
Yeah, literally no one likes this. I've not read one positive thing about it. I've not talked to one person. I was like, oh, this is good. No one. I think the nicest thing I heard about it was someone went, oh, it wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
Actually, Mike Hill, I think you said the most positive thing. You said not as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Not as bad.
That was like pretty much it. I have to kind of step lightly around this one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's it wasn't as bad. I really thought it was going to be a real turd. There were things about it that it was a good night out. Let's put it this way. I went to
there you go.
Arts Center. The people that were there were nice. It was a nice dinner beforehand. It was cool. It was a nice evening out. Like as
Yeah.
far as the film itself, not so much.
So
Exactly.
you want to do grades or what our ratings were?
Yeah. You go first, Jeff.
I feel like giving it a half a star or a half a flaming skull. Yeah, because it's not a zero. Some of the acting is pretty good, but man, the more I thought about it, there's just nothing there. Okay, I'll be nice. I'll give it a 1.
Give it a 1.
Oh.
Okay. Believe it or not, there was a time when I walked out of the theater, maybe a few days, where I was almost like, you know what? Go see it. Maybe it's a 3. Maybe. But now, after more thought and more deeper dives and whatnot, I'm giving it a score for me that is quite low, and it's getting a 2.5 for me. It's not really worth seeing. That 2.5 is mainly for the beginning of the film and the font of the credits.
It's the font.
And the font. I like the font. And showing the 2 dogs. And for Leslie Odom Jr., that's where the 2.5 comes from.
I hope they put what you just said on the Blu-ray cover. 2.5 stars. Great fonts.
Mainly for the OG Exorcist font used in the title credits. Yes. There you go. 2.5. It's low for me, man. That's low.
Yeah, I give it a 2. A solid 2.
Solid 2.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah. I think David Gordon Green needs to really rethink his career, and maybe he needed to read the William Peter Blatty books before trying to do this film. I don't know if he even bothered to read any of the material, and just really needs to rethink what he's doing with these remakes or expansions on the universe. And I don't know, maybe he needs to go into a different line of work. I think, in my opinion,
He seems to have found his niche in the TV stuff he does with Danny McBride, with Eastbound and Down.
That's great.
Righteous Gemstones. He started out as an indie darling. I defended him on this podcast all the time. I love his first 4 films, and his career took a very weird direction of doing mainstream comedies. Seemed to be going back to his indie art house roots, and now he's the Blumhouse in-house director for these things, and it's just very weird.
I'd like to see Benson and Moorhead take a stab at doing an Exorcist film.
There you go. Yeah. Give someone else a shot. Give someone else who has an actual point of view. The next one, like just something, anything different. This is a huge miscalculation on everyone's part.
Not anybody. The saddest thing about it too is I imagine some younger people, they might think this is The Exorcist. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the sad part about it.
Yeah. Agreed.
Not any director can do a horror movie. I'm sorry. If you're a comedy guy, maybe stick with comedy. You know what I'm saying? Maybe, look, not to say that you can't spread your wings, not to say that you don't have talent or whatever, but I don't know. Sometimes being overly ambitious does not work out. Let's just say,
Yeah, this just isn't in his wheelhouse, and there's nothing wrong with that. Give it to someone who has a real grasp of this sort of. Imagine Ari Aster made this, or just anyone that has some. Just Gordon Green was the wrong guy for the job. It happens.
All right. And there you have it for the Necromaniacs Halloween special. Hopefully for the listeners, it was entertaining because we all did not like the movie. So yeah, usually it's different,
Yeah.
Well, I hope everyone has a fun Halloween. You guys have any plans for Halloween coming up?
No, not really.
I'm sorry. What's that, Jeff?
No, I interrupted you. I said I don't really have any plans, but we live in the suburbs, so we're going to get trick-or-treaters. I'm excited about that. First time in 30-something years, I think I'll see trick-or-treaters come to my door. So that's exciting for me. What about you, Mike Scandato? I cut you off.
I might, Stella and I might go see The Damned at Irving Plaza, or perhaps either Devil Master is playing at Vitus, which is maybe, I don't know, trying to figure out on Halloween night. Halloween night is a weeknight this year, which, you know, kind of sucks, but going to figure it out. What about you, Hill?
Well, Sunday night, Tombs is playing in Long Island with Restless Spirit, and it's kind of a Halloween sort of thing. And it's the Restless Spirit record release celebration for their record After Image. And there might be a couple of surprises to that show, you know, since it's Halloween season. Nice. And on Halloween, Tina and I are going to see Halloween in a movie theater.
Oh, awesome.
Nice.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah. Like we have like matching Halloween sweaters, and we're going to be wearing a lot. We're not wearing that. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
I did that years ago. I can't remember what theater that I saw Halloween on Halloween, maybe 8-9 years ago, somewhere in the city. That was really cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Love to see it on the big screen.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a nice theater. It's some out here in Jersey somewhere. She made all the arrangements for it. It's going to be fun. And yeah, everyone enjoy the Halloween season. It was October is my favorite month of the year.
Yeah.
You know, and stay safe and hail Satan.
Take care, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Later, man.
Guys, take care.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, I always tell everybody this story about when I was a kid.
Yeah, when you must have been about 6 or 7. We went to the drive-in.
Yeah.
And we really didn't know what the story was about. But then Michael was in the back seat, and it was getting really scary. And he watched it, though. He liked to watch it. And but when we came home, we were afraid of the attic.
That's right, the attic, because there was a scene in the attic where we thought that, you know.
We were afraid of the attic. And,
yeah.
And did you get nightmares? I don't remember.
Probably, right?
Yeah, you probably had nightmares. And Michael used to sleep with me because he used to be afraid.
Aww.
But
you didn't know it was a horror movie, The Exorcist?
I didn't know, Michael. What do I know? Your mother's a dope. But anyway.
Story.
But you like The Exorcist, all right?
You know what movie I even like? The Omen.
That's a great one, yeah.
That's a great one.
The first one is really good. The second one was
yeah.
And the third one stunk.
Yeah. Well, after a while, they're not so good.
I think when they make too many sequels, it becomes.
Yeah.
I like that one too.
What about the other Exorcist sequels? Do you like any of those?
You know, Michael, I don't know if I ever saw Exorcist 2 or whatever this is.
It's not worth checking.
No, it's no good. Is that the one you said was no good?
That one was no good. The third one is really good.
That's the one you went to see a few weeks ago, right?
Well, a while ago, me and Rennie went to go see it down in Philly, like
good?
months ago. Yeah, a while back. We went to go see it.
Come on, TV.
Oh, yeah.
Is it still called The Exorcist?
It's called The Exorcist 3.
3?
Yeah, you watch 1 and 3. Because those are the ones that are like, you know, they're good.
In fact, I think when I put the TV on last night, one of the things popped up was The Exorcist.
Yeah.
I think.
No. Yeah. It's, it's Halloween, so.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.